Hello, my name is Brett Keane, and I'm going to talk about some pretty serious hardcore shit. Oh boy. Before I get into this, though, I want to say I appreciate all the emails I've been getting, and also I've been noticing that, according to my counter, as well as my tracker, a lot of people have been coming over and listening. Not as many comments as what I would hope and everything, but it makes up for it in the emails that I get, so I appreciate it. I'm going to be talking about some pretty serious stuff, and I want you to try to follow me on this. There's this 15-year-old kid, and he's getting the shit beat out of him by his father. Lives in the home with his mom and dad, and the father's beating the shit out of the 16-year-old, as well as his little brother and sister. The father also, right in front of his children, beats the shit out of his wife, threatens to kill them, gets angry because he's not happy with his job, he's not happy with what's going on, so he treats the 16-year-old that's doing the best he can in school like total shit. Sometimes tells the 16-year-old, I wish you were never even born. The kid's got a lot of problems. He's insecure, he's upset. He's also trying to fit in at school, trying to be accepted by his friends. Well, one night, the 16-year-old is offered to go out to a party, and he will end up getting to see a girl that he's had a crush on for a very long time named Samantha, whom he finds to be very beautiful. Wants to be with her, you know. You know how 16-year-olds think, I suppose. Some people do, some people don't. Well, he decides that he's going to go ahead and he goes out to the party, and it turns out that all these minors are drinking alcohol. They're getting all tore up. Well, what happens is when he's on his way home, he's told that he is not going to be able to get a ride home. But his friend says, look, man, I'm going to crash out on the couch. I'm all drunk and everything and tore up. I'm not going to be able to drive you home, but here's the keys to my car. Go ahead and drive yourself home and everything. Just return the vehicle to me in the morning and stuff, or tomorrow or something like that. So the 16-year-old doesn't have a license, and he's drunk himself because he's been partying all night. And he's a little concerned about how his dad's going to react when he gets home all tore up. At the same time, he's angry and pissed off, and one part of him says, I shouldn't care, and the other does. So what happens is the young man gets in a car, and about 2 miles down the road, he swerves off and runs into a family inside of a car and kills their children, as well as the mother. The father somehow survives, but he's handicapped because the 16-year-old was drunk and at a party. Probably wouldn't have been at the party had he not had the state of mind that he didn't want to be home with his father, who was kicking the shit out of his brothers and sisters and himself. Well, he does this. He accidentally kills his family because he's drinking. About 2 days later, a relative of the family who got hurt in the accident comes to the 16-year-old's house before court even happens and shoots the 16-year-old right in the face. And he did it, this relative did it, because of vengeance, because of the anger that he had had towards a 16-year-old who was responsible for killing his family. Do you feel that that was right? Do you feel like that 16-year-old deserved to have a bullet in his head? A kid who was just trying to do the best he could at school, a kid who was just like any of us growing up, wanting to go out and have fun and be accepted and party. A kid who did not realize nor intend to hurt anybody, but because that fateful night he got himself drunk, just trying to have a moment of good time and peace, accidentally destroyed a family. Is he a loser? That he deserved to be shot in the fucking head by the relative? Was vengeance the way to go? Or should the 16-year-old been taken to court and tried? There's a lot of people out there that have that attitude that vengeance is the way to go, that we should hurt people, that we should make them pay. that if someone kills someone, it's eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and that we should murder a person who murders their wife for finding them cheating, or we should murder someone who has been supposedly accused of child molestation or many other different acts of heinousness. I remember when I was 20 years old, I believed that if someone was proven to have killed someone or hurt somebody, that they should pay the full fucking price. They should pay with their ass. Either sit in prison for the rest of their fucking life, or have a strap put around their head and then fried with 10,000 volts of awesome electricity. That used to be the way I think. Or at least the way I thought. But a lot of things have changed for me. In all my years, I've read a lot of books. I've seen a lot of horrible things go down in the news. I've seen a lot of things go on even in my personal life with people who were good people who somehow found themselves in the wrong situation at the wrong time. There's some things that you'll see on television too that is shocking, frightening. O.J. Simpson a while back was accused of murdering his wife and the man that she was sleeping with. Now a lot of people said, I watched that fucking thing on TV and the glove fit. Everything was wrong with that court trial, and O.J. Simpson should have went to jail. He shouldn't be at home or out at a golf course fucking having a good time. Oh, I seen the court trial with Michael Jackson. He's a fucking weirdo. He looks silly. He hangs around with children. He must have done what he was accused of. And people, they don't change their mind. A lot of people are pretty set in their ways. O.J. had to have done it. You hear comedians who make entire skits about O.J. Simpson, how he got away with murder. You hear people constantly. A long time ago, Michael Jackson used to get all kinds of love and respect because of his music and because of his creativity and because he was eccentric. Nowadays, his eccentricness and his weirdness and creativeness has cost him his entire fucking career and his life. And what's funny about it is not a goddamn one of us know O.J. Simpson or Michael Jackson ourselves. We don't know. As far as we know, the parents who accused Michael Jackson of child molestation could have been people who were trying to rob him blind. They realized that he was the king of pop. They could have sat there and said, you know what, if we accuse Michael of doing this, we'll be able to afford the new boat we want, the new yacht. If we get a settlement, because Michael Jackson won't want to go to court, because if he goes to court, then it's going to ruin his life and his career, so he'll settle out and give us $20 million to keep our fucking mouths shut. The couple times that Michael Jackson did get accused of this shit, he did try to settle out in court. He tried to give the parents the money and stuff so they would just go on their merry way. And a lot of people looked at that as like, oh, he must have done it. He just didn't want to go to court and get accused for what he actually did. Let me ask you something now. How much is your children worth to you? If your child was found to have been molested or sodomized and stuff by some sick-ass pervert, would you settle out of court for $20 million, or would you go all the way and have their ass put in prison? How much is your kid worth? Because when a kid is hurt, that child is going to live with that for the rest of their life, and $20 million ain't going to clean the problem up. It's not going to solve the situation. But $20 million for two parents who don't give a fuck, who are willing to rob somebody blind, they can get them a new yacht and they'll live with it just fine. Now you might think, well, wait a minute, Brett, are you standing up for O.J. Simpson or Michael Jackson? No. No, I'm not. What I'm telling you is that I, myself, and you do not know Michael Jackson or O.J. Simpson or many of these people that you see on the news who are accused of horrid acts. You don't know them. You know what you see on TV and what the media allows you to see and hear. You are told what to fucking believe. You're like a person who goes into a church and will accept what your preacher tells them because you trust your preacher. Why would you trust some news lady or some news guy who doesn't give two shits? Why would you fucking believe a reporter who smiles happily when they're telling you about a plane crashing in the Bahamas with fucking thousands of people who died? Why would you trust a person who can smile and tell you about that at the same time? I wouldn't. I don't trust anybody. Is it possible O.J. Simpson could have actually murdered his wife? Goddamn right. It's possible that Michael Jackson did what is accused of him? Goddamn right. It's possible. I'm just saying that we ought to fucking think about this shit a little bit more heavily instead of hearing the story offhand and just fucking jumping on the bandwagon. I'm saying that we should, if we're really concerned about what the truth is, we should study and do some research on things before we just fucking assume that these people deserve to have their life taken from them. Let me tell you another little story before I finish up this goddamn video. Let me tell you another story, and this story is going to sicken you. It's going to fuck you up in the mind, probably. Let me get me a cigarette. Back in the 80s, there was an old woman with a daughter who also she had a grandchild with. We got a grandson, we got a grandma, we got a mother, and we've got a daughter here in this situation, an entire little family, a little family who's running their own daycare back in the 80s, and this is a true story, and I'm going to give you the name after I tell you the story. These people had their own daycare where families from all over the city and shit trusted these people and brought their children to them. The grandmother and the woman and the daughter were considered some of the nicest, most kind people that you'll ever know. People let them babysit their kids, people let them watch their kids in the daycare, play with them, tell them stories, the whole 9 yards. All of a sudden, one of the kids comes forward and says that he had to pull his clothes off and he was molested. The whole fucking city went nuts. The whole city went nuts. The next thing that happened was because that kid came forward and accused this family of doing this that ran their own home daycare and all that, a whole bunch of other kids came forward that had been in that daycare once telling their mommies and daddies that they had been molested and abused. By the time the court started, which was a couple months later, after these people spent 2 months in fucking jail because they didn't have the money to get themselves out. Check this out. There was over 100 children that showed up to the court to witness and give testimony that these people molested them and were having naked dances and all kinds of weird shit, saying that toys were used on them and all kinds of crazy sick shit. The parents were fucking to the point where they were like, kill these people, crucify them, fucking hang them up, choke them out. Everybody was upset. The goddamn thing got so famous and so popular that the entire United States of America was talking about it. People were standing up and shit. There were mobs of people who wanted to fuck these people up. An old woman sitting in fucking jail getting shit kicked out of her by other women. A daughter, a young son who worked for the daycare and shit was getting the piss kicked out of him and raped repeatedly by people who thought he was a child molester. After it's all said and done, 7 to 8 years later, after these people have spent their lives in jail getting the shit beat out of them, it is discovered that one of the kids was actually molested, but not by the people running the daycare, but by his own father. Instead of the kid telling his mother what his father was doing to him in the bathtub, he accused the McMartins who ran the daycare. The kid didn't know what to do. The kid was afraid because of what his father was doing to him, and it messed him up so bad in the head that he accused the teachers who actually did care about him and who were trying to help him, and got them put away for almost 10 years. Everybody was so sure, everybody was so fucking without doubt, without skepticism that these people had done this, that they threw their lives away. And all these children that had come forward and done the witnessing and testimony, it turned out it was because their parents continued to push them and push them and push them and harass them. Did you get molested? Did you get hurt? Did they do this? Did they do that? And little kids sometimes will just go along with whatever their parents are putting on them. If you're interested in seeing this trial for yourself, it is called the McMartin trial. There is a movie about it. There's newspapers about it. It's all over the place. You can see it for yourself. A true story where people had 10 years of their life taken from them and they were victimized over and over by the community, by the courts, by the people. One last thing. There are people out there who rape and murder people. There are people out there that do horrible things and they deserve to be punished. They deserve to either get some kind of help medically or they deserve to go to jail if they're sane and they understand what they've done wrong. However, are we really that much different than a guy like Ed Gein or Jeffrey Dahmer if our definition of justice is to simply repeat history by murdering them back? And it is murder. Murder is premeditated, and our court systems premeditate killing people, whether it be lethal injection or the chair. Back then they used to hang people. In some countries they still do. What makes us any different than the man who murders another man by flipping a switch? Is this really the way to solve things? If you shoot a 16-year-old for accidentally getting drunk and running into your family, is this going to bring back your family? Is this going to resolve your life? Are you going to be able to sleep at night knowing that you became someone that you did not want to be and you killed someone that you didn't even know? Just simply ask yourself these questions. You've been listening to Brett Keane. Thank you.